Hello everybody. So in today's episode, we're going to be comparing the Breakaway class versus the Prima class in regards to the Haven.
With NCL.
With NCL, yes. That's
So,
helpful.
If you don't know, the Breakaway class is the class of ships right before the Prima class. The Prima includes the Prima, the Viva, and the Aqua soon to be.
Yes.
And then the Breakaway includes anything from the Breakaway up into the Encore and the Bliss. And I do know there's Breakaway and Breakaway Plus class, but we've combined them just to say Breakaway.
And all the images that you're going to predominantly be seeing with this episode is mostly all from the Encore or the Prima. So we're going to break this video down between a few different categories. We're going to start off with kind of just explaining the Haven briefly and what's included and all of the fun perks that you get, no matter which ship you're on. And then after that, we'll break it down between all the other categories, and that's going to be the interior, the exterior, the rooms, the overall ship, and then where do we think that this ship is suited for and who.
5 categories.
I miscount.
5 categories.
Okay, so let's get into it.
So let's start with first the stuff that's included on the Haven on both. So when you book a Haven room, you get added perks. It is considered a suite class on Norwegian, just a kind of like upper level class, like a better term. But what's included in that, regardless of the ship, is priority embarkation, disembarkation. You get upgraded staterooms, typically larger.
If you're in the Haven, your rooms are definitely a little bit larger. In some instances, there are rooms that are just considered suites, and they are not part of the Haven, then you're in similar size. But if you're comparing it to a balcony or an interior room, your room is going to be much bigger.
Also included in the Haven is you do have your own specialty restaurant called the Haven Restaurant on the ship. That's only for Haven guests. You typically have a bar.
There's always a bar.
There's always a bar. That's just for the Haven guests in the Haven Lounge.
You have a Haven Lounge, a Haven proper area. The Haven is considered to be a ship within a ship. So pretty much there will be some portion of the Haven that is blocked off from the rest of the ship, and you need a key card in order to access it. And it just has a little bit more of a tranquil, calming space, not as crowded as the rest of the ship.
Yep. You also get a Haven concierge, which is great for booking, and you do get a butler in every room on the Haven.
So in addition to everything else that Jack had mentioned, you get things like free included room service, snacks in your room every day. There is an espresso machine that is replenished with coffee pods, as well as some tea.
You also get a reserve section at the main theater shows that the butlers block off that you have access to, so you don't have to wait in line.
They do release that when it's about like 5 minutes before showtime, so just keep that in mind.
And lastly, you get a bottle of champagne on embarkation day. But that's just a high-level view of what is included in the Haven. If you would like to see our review of the Haven from the Encore, we'll link the video below or up here.
Next category that
First category.
Well, no, we already had one category.
No, that was just what do you get with the Haven.
Well, it was still part of the 6.
Okay, so they tied in that one.
The next category is going to be the interior. So this is where we're going to compare the interior of the Prima class versus the interior of the Breakaway class in the Haven specifically.
Oh, we forgot to mention. In each category, we will pick a winner for what we think is best. This is our personal opinion based on our experiences.
And so that'll be 5 different categories then.
Yes. You win when you stay in the Haven.
Well, yeah, I mean, Haven alone is a win.
It'll be our personal choice on which one we think is the better design, better quality, better return for your money.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of go back and forth in regards to each category on the Prima and then the Breakaway class. And I will note below, if you're seeing an image, what class you're currently looking at, just so it doesn't get confusing. And
stay tuned to the end, because we'll let you know if we would do both again. All right, so we'll start with the interior. We'll start with like the color palette. So the Prima class is a very like moody, kind of darker color palette for both the rooms as well as the main areas. So it's like a dark green. She wants to interject. They're like a dark green and like woodsy feel on the Prima class.
It's a mossy green, dark green with a bunch of wood and a little bit of like black and gray. Kind of like a new age cigar lounge would probably be the best way to explain it.
Yes, and unlike that, on the Encore, on the Breakaway class, it's very light and airy.
Opposite.
It's like white and gray.
It's more spa-like would be the best way. So a lot of tans, some blues, a lot more just bright and airy. He's colorblind. That's why I'm trying to interrupt, because he can't tell color like I can. So you have Prima, dark, moody. Encore, bright, airy, very like light and like just like kind of calming, very spa-like would be the best way to explain it.
They're very polar opposites. When we walked into the Prima for the first time, because we'd only done the Breakaway class, it was like a stark like eye pop, because it was nothing we had previously experienced in Haven.
Yes, and I would say in regards to those colors too, one thing that was very noticeable was with the Prima being so dark, the windows were almost too bright and too backlit, and the lighting was just a little, I don't want to say off, but it was a little strange at times.
Yes, you'll see consistencies in some of the Prima classes we go through this. There's design elements that they're counterintuitive to each other.
Yes, because not only is it dark and moody, then they have these huge floor-to-ceiling windows, which are gorgeous, but it kind of like, your eyes couldn't adjust to it, basically.
Yep. So that's the color palette. Both of them include a bar. The Prima bar actually has two bars, one outside, which we'll cover in the exterior section, and the interior bar. I love the Prima bar.
It's a lot larger than the Breakaway bar.
It again doesn't have a TV.
Yeah, that's his thing. I don't think there should be a TV.
But the Prima bar is much bigger than the Breakaway class ships. A lot more people that it has to accustom to. But I think the Prima bar was awesome.
Yeah, so the Prima bar is more of like a big U oblong shaped bar that you can kind of sit all around, where the Breakaway one is just like one bar with maybe 6 seats.
Yeah.
So definite size difference.
And on the Breakaway class, it's kind of like tucked in a corner, so you don't have any views of the outside.
True.
The great thing about the Prima bar is there's floor-to-ceiling windows all around it, so you can watch while having a beverage of your choice. And
on the Prima class, for the bar area, there was also seats kind of around it, so if you didn't want to sit at the bar top and you kind of just wanted to maybe play a card game and just sit and have a drink, there were seats around it as well. Where on the Breakaway class, there are seats, but they're a lot more like couches and like loungy, larger seating areas. Yep. On both the ships, you do have a Haven restaurant located within the Haven proper. The menu does not change every day as of filming this, which is, if you've watched our Retreat versus Haven, you know that's a big But the restaurants are great. I will say the Prima class restaurant for the Haven is much larger. Much larger. But that is also because the Haven itself on the Prima class is much larger. Yes. In general. Like, there's just way more rooms in the Prima class. Yes. So they need to accommodate for that. So, like, it's a wash. They both have the same food. One ambiance is a little darker, as we mentioned earlier in the Prima. The Encore follows that, or the Breakaway follows that lighter color palette. But both are amazing. And I'm just going to mention this, even though it is exterior, but for the restaurants, they both also have a small outdoor eating space as well. And those are about equal size. Yeah, the Breakaway was maybe like a tiny bit bigger, but not so noticeably bigger. So they both have outdoor eating if you're in a nice warm location and want to sit outside and eat. Yes. As we mentioned previously, as one of the benefits of staying in the Haven, you get a private concierge for the Haven. They're located in about the same area. Similar. I mean, area. It's a different right layout. As you walk into the lounge, they're either whether you're on the Breakaway or the Prima, they're located there. I will say on the Prima class, to account for all of the people in the Haven, there's a lot more concierge. There's 2 in the Breakaway class. Yes. A head one and an assistant one. And then there was 4 or 5? 4, I think. 4 or 5? 4, I think. Okay. There were 3 at any given time, and there was 1 that was always on break. Okay. Not like that same person was on break, but they would like rotate. Yeah, that's for the Prima class. And the only thing to keep in mind when it comes to that is then you kind of feel obligated to tip all 4 or 5 of them, where in the other one it's just 2. So you kind of just have to keep that in the back of your mind at the end of the day on budgeting. One thing I will say about the Prima class that I can't really compare because the Breakaway class doesn't really have it. The Prima class has an elevator, and it is amazing. And when I say it has an elevator that goes to basically every single floor. So all of the floors that your rooms are on in the Haven proper, as well as the lounge and restaurant and bar and all that stuff. But in addition to that, it also goes to the floors that has like the theater, the main atrium, like all the floors that you could possibly want to go to. And so that was a really nice perk to not have to like leave the Haven, find an elevator, wait, go back down. It was just, it made things a little more seamless.
Such a hard life.
I know.
Okay.
And you need a key card in order to access that elevator. And if you're going to compare it to the Breakaway class has a very small elevator that pretty much just takes you to 2 floors within the Haven proper, which is basically the lounge floor as well as the like restaurant / higher observation area.
Yep.
So it doesn't really have the same elevator feel.
Yeah. That was a lot of what's similar. Now you get into what's really different between the two.
Yeah, and I think this is where I really get into what's different on the two.
So, a lot different. Let's start with the biggest one. The Prima Class ship has a Haven located on the back of the ship. The entire Haven complex is in one location, all within a controlled area. It's truly a ship within a ship design. The Breakaway class has the Haven at the front of the ship. Coming with that, not all of the rooms for the Haven are located in the Haven proper.
A good amount are, but not all.
Yeah, so you can have like what we stated in our first time, a forward-facing Haven room that's not located in the Haven.
Even though it's in the front.
Even though it's in the front. Different story. They also, on the Breakaway class, have Haven rooms aft-facing.
Yes. So you can not be within the Haven proper on the Breakaway. That's not a thing on the Prima.
For us, it's not a big deal to not be in the Haven proper. It's a nice benefit if we do book a room in the Breakaway class in the Haven proper. But for us, it's not a big deal. We do understand for some people that's kind of a drawback. If that's your drawback, Prima class has all of the rooms in there.
Yeah. And so then to piggyback on top of that, the thing that I personally loved about the Breakaway class is that it really truly has a lounge. It had a very, very large area for sitting, enjoying the beautiful views, huge glass windows that were several stories tall. You really got to enjoy the outside while sitting inside, especially if you're somewhere cold. And there was ample seating for everybody in there. And it was also 2 stories, which was really nice. Now, the Prima class had seats, but for the size of the Prima class, I would say there was a few little nooks along the windows. And there were times where they were full, or there'd be like 1 or 2 people sitting in the nooks, and it kind of was like, well, this is kind of awkward. I don't want to like sit on the couch facing them. It just didn't seem like there was as many spots to just kind of sit, relax, and enjoy.
Yep.
Now, on top of that, if you've watched us before, you know food is top priority in Emma's world. This is my big, huge complaint. The Breakaway class has a huge bar set up that has snacks, coffee, teas, little things to grab and go at almost any hour of the day. Towards the end of the night, they kind of took them away and you could just get coffee or tea. But the Prima class had nowhere for any of that. Nowhere. Which doesn't sound like a huge thing, but sometimes I just want a cup of coffee and I want to just kind of make it quick, grab it, go. I don't want to have to like bug one of the bartenders or ask somebody. Or you've been out on an excursion all day and you're just like, oh, I could just go for like a tiny little snack. Like I just need a few bites of something. I'll just run and grab it and then continue on with whatever. There was nowhere in the Prima class that was displayed or out or anything. There was just none.
This is a 1.5-minute rant about no snacks.
It was a big deal. And it wasn't just me. There was several other people that asked about snacks and if there was anything or if they could get them something, even like a bowl of nuts. And it seemed like it was more of a hassle or they didn't have anything. And it just, I think it was noticeable difference.
So if snacks are your number one reason, we suggest the Breakaway class.
One other thing to note is that the Breakaway class also had some games up at the top of the lounge area that you could enjoy and use, where the Prima class also did not have anything like this. So just some other little things missing. And I will say, just in general, the Prima is so much larger than the Breakaway class. But when it came to like the Haven space on the interior, the Breakaway class seems 10 times larger than what the Prima class is.
Yes. Plus, in the Breakaway class, you have a pool inside.
You do.
Which
I guess we could talk about, but right now.
I mean, it's a big difference. There's a pool inside on the Breakaway class. There is no pool inside on the Prima class.
Yes. And in addition to saying that there is a pool inside, but also if for some reason you're in really nice weather, there is a retractable glass roof that they will open up so it can be like an outdoor pool if
Yeah.
need be.
So,
But it could be used literally at all times because it was enclosed. So whether
Yes.
there was bad rain or whatever, unless there was crazy winds, then like, the pool, too wavy, they close it down. But for the most part, you could use the pool pretty much any time on the Breakaway class.
yes. So that's kind of the summary of the interior. Like, which one did you think was best?
Personally, I liked the Breakaway and the Encore more.
I would agree with you on the trips we've done. We've done both of these in colder climates.
Correct.
We'll get down to this later. In a warmer climate, I may have a different opinion. But with the colder climates, I felt the Breakaway class has a better design.
I agree where it could be, but I also think just due to size, and you never know what the weather is going to be no matter where you're sailing, I feel like there was more space for everybody on the Breakaway class than there was on the Prima.
I agree. All right.
For
so
interior specifically.
Breakaway class with the win. Okay. Number
Next
2.
category.
Next category is the exterior of the ship. Or exterior of the haven. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah,
the
haven.
exterior of the haven area. So this is your sun decks, your pools, your bars, your fun spots for when it's warm outside.
This one I think will be a little quicker.
Oh yeah, 100% quick. Well, yeah. We can call the winner now.
No, okay, let's go over it. Okay, so Prima class. Let's start off with our big things. Food and booze are always our big ones. The Prima class has a bar outside, which is really, really nice. Breakaway does not have a bar
with
outside.
Seating.
With seats, correct. The exterior...
Covered. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
It's a covered bar, too.
That is true. For
gingers?
Covered is always a good thing. The exterior on the Prima is way, way larger. You also have a full pool there. Something I also like is, since it is a larger exterior, the very first floor is for all ages, and then if you go up to the next level, it is the adults only area, and so that is 16 plus. There was hot tub up there, extra seating, just kind of a little quieter area.
You left out the most important part. The pool is an infinity edge pool on the Prima class.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome pool. The other thing with the outside also on the Prima class is that there is a sauna as well as an ice room that is only accessible if you are in the Haven. So that was kind of fun to enjoy and experience a little bit.
Yeah, and on the Encore, you basically get a deck outside.
You get a big deck outside. There was hot tubs out there, some loungers and seating area. It was very nice. It's on the front of the ship, so your views are amazing. Where Prima's on the back of the ship.
But I'm all about that aft.
For the Primas, it is just a lot larger. On Breakaway, there's no bar. It's just literally some hot tubs and seats. And then the pool that we mentioned earlier, if it's in really nice weather, they'll retract the roof, but I don't think that's really considered exterior.
Yeah, that's pretty summary of the exterior of the areas. This one's just...
Oh, and the big thing to note about the Breakaway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, is that exterior is 16 plus. So if you come with a child, like we sometimes sail with our daughter, we couldn't enjoy the exterior part of the Haven.
They did allow some kids younger when we were sailing into...
Yeah, but that's really iffy, and then you have people that don't love it. So
okay.
It's really 16 plus.
Yep. So the only one that actually offers family-friendly outdoor space is the Prima. And if you haven't got it from this one, there's no comparison. The Prima class has the best outdoor area.
It's bigger. There's space for everybody. Families, non-families.
And a covered bar.
A bar. It's just a lot larger.
Yeah.
And there's more space.
All right. So after 2 categories, we're 1-1.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Woohoo.
Let's go.
Okay, so our next category is the rooms. So what rooms are included within the Haven within both classes?
We will not cover every room that's in the Haven. If you would like to see room tours of all of the rooms that are in the Haven,
Hard Travel.
Hard Travel is all about that aft too.
Yes. We have a few room tours that we have done, but we have definitely not stayed in all of them.
Yes.
And with that being said, I want to specify that when it comes to the Breakaway class, again, we were on the Encore twice. We have done the 2-bedroom, which is within the Haven, as well as the forward-facing penthouse suite, I guess it was called. And that was for Breakaway class. For the Prima, we had what was that one called?
Haven Penthouse.
Haven Penthouse. So we've only experienced one room within the Prima.
But As we talked about earlier, they are polar opposites on color palettes.
Correct.
So that color goes...
A little bit. This is where it kind of gets weird. So our very first one, that was the one bedroom.
You're right.
That was very bright and airy on the Breakaway. Then we moved to the 2-bedroom, and I had previously seen a 2-bedroom before we had booked that. The 2-bedroom was moodier on the Encore. It was, I wouldn't say it was as dark as the Prima Class, but it definitely had some darker tones and a little darker colors, not as spa-like. Where the Prima Class, everything is very dark and moody, like we had mentioned. We also had the opportunity to see the owner's suite from the amazing channel World According to Briggs, and their room was also very bright and airy and spa-like, unlike the 2-bedroom that was a little moodier on the Breakaway Class. And it's a little bit, the rooms seem tighter. I mean, even from when you just look at them online and the one that we've experienced, the layouts are all slightly different, and it's kind of feels like they were trying to shove as much in as they possibly could.
Yeah, describe this the only way I can think to describe this. The Breakaway Class felt more homey. Like if you were designing like home, it was like that color palette. Prima Class felt like a boutique chic hotel.
Yes, where that boutique chic hotel was trying to get as many rooms as they could, which is usually how it works.
Yes, that's how I would compare the two.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one other thing coming from a family with a small child standpoint is that the Breakaway Class has a lot more room options that have a tub, where the Prima Class didn't have, you had to really get into some of the higher priced rooms to actually have a tub.
Yeah, and if you follow our channel, you know we are all about the budget suites.
Yes, we are. And I know the Prima is a newer class of ships, so typically the newer ones have a little bit higher of a price tag, but I feel like the Prima, at least, not including like the Viva and soon to be the Aqua, the Prima Class is still pricey when you compare it to the Breakaway Class. Like, the price is just, they don't seem comparable.
Yeah, basically in this summary is like, we prefer the rooms. Now the Prima Class has much more options. It has a lot. And the newer ships that are coming out, so there's the Aqua or the Star or whatever the next one is.
We'll talk about those in a little bit at the end.
They'll have even more options, but the Breakaway Class, just the rooms felt nicer.
They felt bigger, airier.
And if you've seen our Prima review of our room on the Prima had mold already.
Yes, and that ship is
2 years old, 3 years old?
I'll note it below, but it's not a very old ship, and it had mold. Some of the layouts just, it felt like it wasn't planned out great. Like there was, when we've done room reviews in the past, I can't remember a room review where I've been like, okay, I'm going to take 2 minutes just to kind of mention some of the things that we didn't love about it. The Prima Class, I was like, I'm sorry, but I got a decent sized list of things that had some issues.
Yep. If you want to see a review on that Prima room, I'd highly suggest check out this video, because we'll walk through kind of like the weirdness. As I go back to my earlier comment, it felt like there's more than one person that was doing design and they didn't talk to each other. And so the quality on the Breakaway just feels a little higher end than the Prima did.
I think the best way to explain it is the Breakaway seemed like a professional designer figured out the layout and what was needed and what wasn't, where the Prima Class seemed like a newer designer who didn't necessarily think of some of the little nuances that are needed in.
Yeah.
So one other thing, in addition to just some of the weird layouts of the Prima Class, the ship was very loud, more so than any other. Like the room was just creaky and loud, and it wasn't just us. I'd heard it from several other people as well as seen it online. It was noticeably loud. But with all of that being said, I think it's probably kind of obvious on which room we would pick.
Oh yeah, the Breakaway Class.
Yeah. I mean, I think they just have a little bit better space and just color palette alone. I think the layout on the Breakaway Class is better.
So before we get to the next category, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it and it's helped you out, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel and want to stay up to date on our latest stuff, please hit subscribe and the little notification bell. We really appreciate it.
Thanks. So our last two categories kind of piggyback on each other, but we're going to start off with the ship overall. So not necessarily Haven, just literally the entire ship.
Yep. So if you're looking at this video, I'm sure you're wondering what the Prima's like. You probably looked up lots of videos about the Prima, about how it's compartmentalized, it's got small nooks and crannies, it feels very tight.
It was a weird layout.
Yeah, it again feels like they tried to put a square peg in a round hole. Some of the ship is amazing. So the outdoor space, it has a lot of outdoor space.
A lot of outdoor space.
Which is great. However, I think they took too much from the interior if they're going to sail this ship in colder weather.
Yeah, and there was also some spaces where, like, you either had to go outside to get to another, like, interior space, or you had to, like, go down and up and around. So if it's raining and things like that, it was just some weird layout and flow of the ship.
Yeah, but it's beautifully, like, it's beautiful inside.
Navigating it was a little confusing, but it was pretty. They did a nice job on
navigating is an interesting...
Yeah, I get confused for
There's some floors where you can't walk straight across that, or you think you could just walk straight across, so you gotta go down and then back up, and yeah, that's a bit weird. Like, I kind of had it fun. It was like a maze.
Yeah, but it's not the most user-friendly.
It was very, it was not, it's definitely not user-friendly.
Yeah.
And honestly, when it comes to accessibility, I would actually consider the Breakaway class was better accessible than the Prima class.
100%. So the Breakaway is older, so I would say design-wise, you're going to have a tiny touch of some of the older design styles compared to the Breakaway, but the flow is better.
Yep.
It's kind of... And the Breakaway has some outdoor space, but I feel like the outdoor space for the Breakaway class is more of like the pool deck and then outdoor seating for restaurants and stuff, where the Prima had like a boatload of pools in different spots and seating and outdoor eating, and there was a lot of outdoor
Yeah, there's
space.
a lot of outdoor space. If there's one area that didn't feel tight, it was outdoor space on the Prima.
Correct.
And the only other thing is, I'd say interior, there's a lot more kind of places to eat in the Prima than there is on the Encore or the Breakaway class, because it has additional like included food options, such as the food hall.
Yeah, the indulged food hall is a nice addition.
Again, but it's very tight.
It was tight inside. Again, we were on a colder sailing, so everybody was inside because it was way too cold and windy to eat outside. But they do have some nice additions to eating spaces.
Now, the Prima has a lot more outdoor activities than the Encore does, or the Breakaway class does. So it does have go-karts, 3-level go-kart at sea.
Bigger.
Which Poppy enjoyed to a T. Cost money. It has mini golf, which you think on a cruise ship mini golf would be included. Nope, mini golf costs money.
If there's one pet peeve when it comes to NCL, is I feel like they're just trying to upcharge for all these little things. A little too much.
But then it has these cool like outdoor games that are included. It has darts that you can play.
That was not included.
That was not included. That's an upcharge. It has like these little tables you can play soccer at. So it has a lot of outdoor space and a lot of activities to do.
Yes. Okay, so with that being said, which one do you think wins?
Let's do it on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Prima.
Breakaway. Really? Okay, so I think the Breakaway, just because even though the style's a little older now, I think that the interior and exterior flow and the whole flow of the ship is just easier to navigate and just better overall.
I like the quirkiness of the Prima class. It's just different. It's, to me, a lot of the cruise ships, the bigger ones, it's a lot of the same stuff. Well, maybe different cruise lines and different ships.
Okay.
It feels a lot the same. Prima was like, you would rip the Band-Aid off and just say, we're redoing this.
Yeah, they definitely ripped the Band-Aid off. I don't know if they redid it in the best way possible, but...
Well, it's got its, like, quirkiness. I kind of enjoyed that because it kind of made it, like, a new experience. It actually, to me, made it feel like we were on a much smaller ship.
Okay. I'll say the theater on the Prima is cool, too, because it's innovative in the fact that it retracts and becomes a dance floor.
Yeah.
And it's not a theater.
All right, so we will split the point on that one.
Yeah. Okay. So it is...
The correct answer is Prima for those watching this video.
So it's Prima 1.5, Encore 2.5?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the last category, which is our, what do we think overall is the best? The haven, the ship, what's like...
Everything, where, who is it for, all of the above.
Yeah, so if you watch a lot of our videos, you know the last category is like an overall category.
Yes.
So, we'll start, like, we'll break this category down into like some components. So one interesting fact is both the Breakaway class and the Prima class do cold, like, let's say cold in like Alaska, Norway.
Yeah, those are cold.
Yes, cold weather and hot weather on the same ship. And that's a mistake.
Yes. The Prima should only be for warm weather sailings.
Yes.
I don't think that the Prima is ideal for cold weather areas because it then makes the interior feel overcrowded and busy.
And it's already small and
yeah, and I just feel like you lose so much space and the flow just doesn't work. It just becomes too crowded and too congested, basically. Where the Encore, I feel like, can do both. Yes. Hot and cold, because just the flow in general is just better. So with that, then the next part would be, who are NCL ships for? Who
specifically Breakaway and Prima.
And Prima, yeah. Like, who do you find would be the perfect candidate for one of these?
I feel
these ships?
The Breakaway is for younger families more than the Prima class was.
Okay, and why is that?
I feel like the Breakaway class is for like younger family. Is kind of what they're going for. The Prima class felt like they're for like teenagers and above.
I feel like the outdoor activities seemed a little bit more mature. Like the mini golf was like an elevated mini golf. Like I wouldn't say it was
made... It had a slot machine.
Yeah, like it wasn't made for little kids or even, I feel like it was like 10 plus for the mini golf.
Yeah.
And just most of those activities out there in general seemed like a slightly older kid activity.
Yep. So both are designed for families, but I feel like the Prima class is just for a slightly older demographic on those kids.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want a kid-friendly, I would suggest Royal.
Yeah.
But...
And if you're going on this to get away from kids, the NCL is not for you.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, you're going to have kids no matter what. Obviously, if it's during a spring, like a school break or the summer, you're going to have more kids. But for the most part, you're going to have some kids on your ship. So if that's what you're trying to avoid, probably not the cruise line for you.
So to round out this category, overall, what ships do we think are the best? 1, 2, 3, Breakaway. So we agree on that. So
I just think also because the Breakaway can go anywhere, where I feel like the Prima has pretty much limited itself to warmer, even though they're still doing colder sailings, and it's just a loss.
Yeah, like the way I would put this is we are never doing a Prima class in cold weather again.
We will be doing a Prima class in the future, coming up in a few months on the brand new one, in a very cool room.
Yes.
But it is a warm weather cruise.
Yes.
I don't think I would book a Prima in like Alaska, Norway, any of those ones that could have colder, windier weather. The ship's just not designed for it.
Yeah, if you're looking to do Alaska, or the ship doesn't go, Primas don't go to Alaska, but if you're looking to do the Norwegian fjords or to Iceland, the videos you've just been watching, we would not suggest the Prima.
No. I mean, we had an amazing time, made the best of it, but I just think that the layout's just not suited for it.
Yep.
So yeah, so that means that the final score is
3.5 for the Breakaway, 1.5 for the Prima.
Yeah. That
was a butt kicking.
Yeah, it was. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Till next time, get out and live a little. Bye, guys. So there is a big thing of dust flying in the air.